Today I'm doing brakes on a friend's 535 XI F10. One thing I noticed is the reservoir is full. You have to make sure that the brake fluid reservoir is not full, because when you compress the pistons on the caliper, it's going to have the fluid back into the reservoir and then it can overflow. You don't want that, because then it leaks down, can get in the paint in that area and make the paint bubble. So the first thing I need to do is take this cover off right here to expose brake fluid reservoir. These are just push pins, so you just need a fork tool and lift up these push pins to remove this cover to have access to the brake reservoir. Okay, just move this up along the seal. There are some clips that kind of located over the reinforcement bar, which gives you access to the reservoir, which is right here. Next step would be to jack the vehicle up, use the lift pad, and remove the wheel. Need a 17 millimeter. And here you support the wheel in case it falls off. Sometimes if they're loose, it's just going to come off. You put pressure on it, it won't fall off. Sometimes they're stuck on, just from corrosion. So if you put a lug back in, part of the way, about halfway, then you can use a mallet on the tire to pop it free. You recenter, move your lug you used as a retainer, your wheel. Okay, these are being replaced not for pad thickness, but for vibration when braking, and the rotors are rusting on the outer edge, so they're pitted all along the outer edge. So the rotors need to be replaced because of that, and whenever you replace rotors, you definitely want to replace your pads. Take note of the sensor routing here, up this way. There's a clip. You have to make sure that this clip is installed in the same location, or you can keep it there, but we're going to be moving everything out of the way. It's a good idea to pop it off. If that locks on like that, I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm going to leave it on the sensor. This comes up this way, across the top, and then up to a box in the wheel well over here on the left hand side. I'm going to go ahead and hang the sensor first. It's the back one here. Push tab, push to release, and then along here it's just plastic clips. You just pull that out, pull it off of here, and then there's another retainer a little bit further down, so we can start hanging this one. Make sure it clicks into place. There is a guide on the back side that goes to, you can't really get it wrong, and just go ahead and put your sensor in, and you can just follow the path of installation of the old sensor. Alright, sensor comes up this way, that's going to go there. There's two metal brackets which the wires just push out from underneath, so you're just going to feed out the sensor, and then it goes through another bracket here, and then that's where our clip is, which goes to the brake caliper line, and then it goes outward so it can't rub on the tire. Next, I like to take the 6mm locator for the brake rotor, take a screwdriver, put it in the bottom fins, rotate up till you get pressure, and then you can go ahead and put pressure on the Allen to break it free. These can be rusty. Geez, I don't like the way that feels. It's coming though, which is good. Okay, next I'm going to take the spring retainer out. Just take note of its location on the front of the caliper bracket right here. in here, and then it goes into a slot right here. Just push it back and out to work that free. It's a little rusty. There we go. Alright, pop that out. Next I'm going to hit the caliper bracket bolts, which is an 18mm. You can use a large breaker bar. I'm actually going to use my gun because I have enough space to at least break them free. Which makes things a lot easier and faster. But a breaker bar will work just as well. Alright, that's back here. One up top, one down the bottom. With those back bolts removed, I should be able to remove the entire assembly and flip it over. And that will give me access to the pad replacement. Okay, with that resting on top, you can actually, they kind of popped out on their own, but you can actually remove your pads now from the housing. Now, since we're replacing the pads with a new sensor, I just snipped it. You can snip it before as well, just to make that easier to remove. Okay, just work out the other pad. With the pads removed, you should clean up the contact surfaces where the pad sits. So I'm going to take the caliper bracket and slide it out of its housing so I can remove it and clean up the contact points. Just have to pull it forward now and lift it up like this and out. And then going back in, same thing, drop it in and slide it in. Okay, I'm going to clean up these sliders with a little bit of Scotch-Brite. And according to instructions, you do not lube these. Just make sure that they're clean for reinstallation. Okay, I'm going to lubricate my bracket with brake paste on the locations where those pads sit. That's going to prevent noises and help the pad slide correctly. Thing on the bottom, just using BMW brake paste. You don't want to get this on the boot for the piston on the caliper. Okay, I need to remove my rotor. So I just gently tap around the perimeter, and since I'm replacing this, I do most of the force on the back side of the rotor on the outer edge. Spin it, hit it, spin it, hit it, till it pops free. Just be careful because it will pop free quickly. Okay, I also like to clean up corrosion on the hub. Use a wire brush. I like to do a thin coat of anti-seize. I'll wipe some of that off. Alright, I don't want excessive copper anti-seize on here. I just want a light coating. When brakes need to be done again in the future, the rotor will come off easier. New rotor. I put copper anti-seize on the threads of the locator, which I think is down here. Yep, make sure you fully seat it, line it up. Okay. Okay, snug that on. Get your tightening torque. That is 16 Newton meters for your locator. Okay, I'm going to take my bracket, lock it in, and align it with the guide holes. install into the sliders. I'm going to hit the contact points of my new pad. This is the inner, which I already lubricated them on the inside. And then I'm just going to put some around the perimeter to act as a vibration dampener to help prevent squeaks. It does take a little finagling to put this in, line it up. Hey, I don't know if you can see that, but you want to get both of them into the sliders first. The spring retainer is just going to be resting, and you really have to try to do this at the same time so that it seats. That's why I switched the gloves out, so I can touch the contact surface of the pad without putting any brake paste on it. Okay, this is the other side pad. Same idea. We put some on the outside. This vehicle does not have a left and right pad. Some vehicles do, so they'll actually say L and R on them. So it's always a good idea to double check. Some vehicles have rotors that are actually left and right as well. Okay, same idea. Slide it in and have to line it up in the right location. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but there is a little flex on the bracket. So if you pull it forward slightly, that enables you to go ahead and slide that pad in. I am fully seated here. Make sure the other pad stayed fully in its locator, and we're ready to install it on the rotor. Okay, I'm just going to take the whole bracket, bring it around, and guide the pads over, and slide that on. Need to get behind here and get my bolt started. On the top, you can shift it slightly forward back as needed to rehang it. What's nice about this job is if you do the left side, you can do the right side. The left side has the sensor, the right side's the same without the sensor, which is nice because I'm only going to do the one video of one side. So now it's tightening, and I'll give you tightening torques for this. Okay, the caliper bracket is 110 Newton meters. That's the top. Bottom. Quick recheck. 110. 110. Yep. Two things left are the clip and the sensor, or the spring retainer. If you do take the sliders off, they're 35 Newton meters for a retorque if you decide to take that apart that way. Right? This spring is kind of a pain in the butt to finagle back on. Gotta hook it. There goes a piece of glove. Hook it, top and bottom, push it back, and then push it in. And I like, if I had something handy here, to tap it until that spring tab gets pushed in. I always like to give them a tap. Okay, last step is the sensor installation. I'm going to take this one off. Oh man, that clip broke. I don't have another one of these. If you don't have another one, which I didn't get one with this repair, just take a pick and push the tabs in so that you can get this out without breaking it. I still have one retainer on the bottom. I could also add a zip tie if it doesn't look like it's going to hold. Remember, this was attached to the metal piece right here, and this goes right here, gives you an area, where it attaches, and that's good and solid. And the top one has 2, the bottom one has 1. I'll probably throw a zip tie on there just to be safe. Alright, just to be sure, I did put a zip tie around that one where one part of the clip cracked off. And then this goes here, because there's quite a bit of tension on that. The sensor then has to go this way, and then into its locator, but it can't touch. There we go. Alright, straight across here. Get it started. And with a flathead screwdriver, give it a little bit of a push. And it should lock right in like so. Alright, see that sits like that. Alright, you can rotate that, see how it loosens up. We want that right where it's supposed to be. To be thorough, I like to pop out the cap, clean up the corrosion around the. Put your center cap back on. Alright, put your wheel on. Line up a lug hole. Preferably start these all by hand. There's no chance of cross-threading. Some final steps. Make sure to refill your brake fluid reservoir. Put it back to max, and then I'm going to step on the brakes a few times before putting the vehicle in gear to prevent it from taking off on you. So make sure to pump the brakes whenever you do brakes before you put it in gear. Reinstall the cover. Make sure you're lined up with your locator holes and you're pushed back down onto the reinforcement bar right here. You have your push clips. Install the push clips or plastic rivets. Lock them in. Just push down. Make sure that's good. Make sure to torque your wheels 140 Newton meters. Make sure to step on the brake pedal to build pressure back up before you start. I'm going to key it on. Service due in 3,200 miles. I'll have to check to see what service that is. But I just did the front brake, so I'm going to go ahead and reset the brake reminder. Press and hold the left instrument cluster button. And wait, the vehicle is not running, just the key is turned on. Try it again, press it again. Oop, I don't want identification. Wrong test. Let's shut it back off, turn it back on, wait for the check control messages to clear. It says range. I'm going to hit the BC button on the side over here and clear that. Now I'm going to try to press and hold the left instrument cluster button. Should give me rear brakes at 3,200. I did the fronts. Engine oil 45, brake fluid 05 2019, vehicle check, front brakes 50,000, but I did the front brakes due to them being rusted and having a brake vibration while driving. There we go, 60,000. Okay, I'll have to take a peek at the rear brakes and see how low they are. 3,200 miles, it will usually stay there until it wears through the sensor. It still could have plenty of life left on those rear brakes. I just checked those rear brakes and there's a ton of life on those rear brakes. So I am going to reset the rear brake also. That could be a CBS calculation error. Rear brake pads, 3,200. Got way more than that. They're like brand new. So let's just reset that. If there's an issue with the sensor, it won't let me reset it. There we go, 9,000. Alright, good to go. Again, thanks for watching. Likes and positive comments are appreciated.